Hey everyone, welcome to today's deep dive. We're going to be tackling something I've always wondered about. What does a housing manager actually do all day?
Uh-huh, right. It's one of those jobs, everyone's heard of it, but
But do we really know?
yeah,
Luckily, you've got RoleCatcher to guide us. They're all about career paths and their stuff on becoming a housing manager. It's like really insightful.
it's a role that, honestly, it impacts all of us, whether we realize it or not. Everyone needs a place to live.
That's so true.
Housing managers, they're the ones behind the scenes, making sure things, actually run smoothly.
And RoleCatcher, they don't sugarcoat it either. They give us the good, the bad, the
None of the leaky faucets. Yeah.
Exactly. So let's dive right in. What does a housing manager actually do? RoleCatcher uses this phrase, ensuring tenants have safe and secure living environments.
I like that.
It feels like more meaningful than just, landlords.
Absolutely. It gets at the human side of the role. You're not managing properties, you're managing people's homes. It's way more than just, like, collecting rent checks. It's problem solving, mediating, and a bit of financial wizardry too.
Ah, wow, financial wizardry, that's a new one.
Right, managing budgets and all that.
So it really is multifaceted. Okay, so RoleCatcher, what do they say about the day-to-day? Paint us a picture.
Okay, so imagine this. You're walking through one of those, those really well-maintained properties. Everything's in order.
Okay, yeah.
That's a housing manager in action. But while you're doing that, you're also the go-to for tenants. Got a maintenance request, noise complaint, lease renewal. That's you.
So you're like on call, basically.
Kinda, yeah. Plus, you might be coordinating with contractors for bigger repairs or even working with local authorities to make sure everything's up to code.
Oh, wow. So there's a whole legal side to it, too.
Yeah, safety inspections, fair housing practices, the whole 9 yards.
Okay, so definitely not all leaky faucets. This is sounding pretty demanding. What does RoleCatcher say are the biggest, like the pros and cons if you're thinking about this as a career?
Well, on the plus side, job stability is huge. Think about it. People are always going to need homes.
That's true, yeah.
And there's actually a lot of room for growth within the field. You can specialize in, say, senior living or affordable housing. You could even move into leadership within a housing association.
So you can really make it your own. But, okay, what about those downsides? What does RoleCatcher say?
Well, they're pretty upfront about it. Dealing with, say, a burst pipe at 3 red a.m., not exactly a walk in the park.
I can imagine.
It's a high responsibility job. You're dealing with people's homes, sometimes in really emotionally charged situations.
That's a good point.
Tenant disputes, having to enforce rules even when it's tough, managing expectations when repairs.
Yeah.
Well, it can't always happen overnight.
Right, right. It takes a certain kind of person to handle all that, with grace, with professionalism. Does RoleCatcher give any real-world examples of this? I feel like a story would really.
They do. One that stuck with me was about a housing manager dealing with a noise complaint. Turned out to be like a cry for help. The tenant was going through something really difficult, a family crisis.
Wow.
The noise was just a symptom.
Mm.
But this housing manager, they went above and beyond, connecting the tenant with support services, just showing incredible empathy. It really highlighted how important those people skills are in this job.
It's not just about, like you said, the bricks and mortar. It's about the people. It really is about the people, isn't it? So, okay, you've weighed the good and the bad. You're ready to climb that career ladder. What's the typical, the trajectory here, according to RoleCatcher, I mean?
So they lay out a pretty clear path. Starting point,
Yeah.
entry-level housing assistant.
Makes sense, yeah. Learn the ropes. What kind of stuff are we talking about at that level? What does RoleCatcher highlight?
Think of it as like housing management 101. You're assisting with rent collection, maybe getting a handle on all those records, probably doing regular property inspections, alongside someone more experienced.
Yeah, lots of shadowing, I bet.
Oh, absolutely. Learning the tricks of the trade, seeing how it's really done.
Right, so no diving into, complex tenant disputes right off the bat. Probably for the best.
Exactly. It's more about those essential skills, that keen eye for detail, being organized, clear communication.
Oh, communication is key in any job, but especially, I imagine, in this one.
Huge, especially as you progress, believe me. Okay, so you've mastered the basics. You're a pro at those routine tasks. What's next?
Yeah, what's the next rung on the ladder?
Housing coordinator. Now things get interesting.
Ooh, I like interesting. Tell me more.
Remember those rent checks you were helping with?
Yeah.
Now you're managing the whole process.
Okay, so more responsibility, bigger impact. What else? What else lands on a housing coordinator's plate?
You're not just collecting rent now. You're getting financially savvy, overseeing budgets, maybe even doing a little forecasting, On the property side, you're leading those like comprehensive inspections, and this is big. You're coordinating all the repairs.
So you're the one making sure that leaky faucet actually gets fixed.
You got it. You're the liaison between, shall we say, frustrated tenants and very busy contractors.
Right, right. Making sure things get done, but also get done fairly, that's got to be a skill in itself.
Oh, for sure. And that's where those conflict resolution skills from those housing assistant days, they come in handy. You're fielding tenant inquiries, mediating disputes, trying to find those, what do they call them, those win-win solutions.
It's like you're leveling up in a video game or something. Okay, so you're a housing coordinator. You're basically a superhero at this point. But where do you go from there? What does RoleCatcher say about moving up to, say, housing officer?
Experience is key, of course, but it's not just about, like, clocking in the hours. RoleCatcher's big on this. You need a deeper understanding of housing regulations, policies, all of that.
Okay, so it's getting serious.
Yeah, you need to know fair housing practices, safety standards, all the legal guidelines, and those financial management skills. Even more important now.
So it's not just knowing how to fix the leaky faucet anymore. It's knowing the building codes behind the plumbing.
Exactly. You got to demonstrate you can manage those budgets, negotiate contracts, really oversee the financial health of, a property or even a whole bunch of properties.
Wow. So it is a natural progression, isn't it? You start hands-on, then layer on more and more responsibility. You gain experience, knowledge, all of it. Speaking of knowledge, though, RoleCatcher mentioned something interesting. They said that people come into housing management from all sorts of backgrounds.
It's true. It's not always like a straight line. You know what I mean? Sure, some people have degrees in housing studies or whatever, public administration, but others, they come from social work, from business, even hospitality.
Wow, that's really interesting. So there's not just one, right path. That's
Oh,
encouraging to hear.
definitely not. The common thread RoleCatcher found, a passion for making a difference in people's lives, and a knack for managing those logistics, the stuff that makes safe, comfortable housing possible.
Love that. Okay, so you've climbed that ladder, put in the work, honed those skills. You're officially a housing manager. Big question. What does RoleCatcher say a typical day looks like at that level?
Well, remember how we were talking about that blend? The
Yeah.
problem solving, mediating, financial wizardry?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
all comes together here, but on a larger scale.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
You might be reviewing a property's like whole financial health in the morning, then boom, on site in the afternoon because there's some crazy maintenance emergency.
So you're still in the thick of it, even at the managerial level.
Oh yeah, it's dynamic, that's for sure.
Not just, board meetings and budget reports all day long.
Those are definitely part of it, don't get me wrong. You're leading a team now, setting goals, developing policies, the whole shebang. But RoleCatcher really stresses this. Good housing managers, they stay connected to the heart of it all. The properties, and most importantly, the people who call them home.
That's what I love about this whole thing. It's really about people at the end of the day, right? Not just managing buildings, but creating a community, a sense of belonging. But okay, with all this talk about technology taking over everything, what does RoleCatcher say about, the future of housing management?
So they're really on top of it, actually. They've got a whole section on technology's impact. And we are talking big impact. Online rent payments, virtual property tours. They even mentioned AI.
Oh, wow, AI. Like what, predicting when a pipe's gonna burst?
Well, maybe not that advanced
Yeah.
yet, but think, using sensor data to flag maintenance needs before they become big problems.
That's pretty wild. But it does make you wonder, are housing managers even going to be a thing in the future? Are robots taking over?
RoleCatcher doesn't think so.
Yeah.
Neither do I, to be honest. And their reasoning is interesting. They think technology will actually free up housing managers to focus on the stuff technology can't do.
Okay, I like where you're going with this.
So yeah, building those relationships with tenants, dealing with those really nuanced disputes that need, actual emotional intelligence, creating that sense of community we were just talking about, the human touch.
Technology can't replace that, can it?
Exactly. Let the tech handle the routine stuff, the data, maybe even some basic communication. But when it comes to those really human elements, that's where a good housing manager will always be essential.
I'm with you on that one. So, how can someone, if they're interested in all of this, how can they really stand out? Especially with all this tech stuff changing in the game. Any tips from RoleCatcher?
They are all about professional development. Big time. They specifically recommend looking into certifications, like the Certified Property Manager, the CPM, or the Certified Housing Manager, the CHM.
Okay, yeah, so you've got the knowledge, you've got the credentials.
Exactly. It shows commitment, right, that you're serious about this.
Yeah.
And it can give you a real edge, especially in a competitive job market.
Like leveling up your character in a video game. I love that.
Ugh. Exactly. Oh, and another thing RoleCatcher stressed, networking.
Can't forget networking.
Yeah. Going to industry events, joining those housing associations, all of that. It's not just what you know, it's who you know,
Oh, yeah,
right?
the original social network, right?
Yeah.
Face to face, making those real connections.
That's it. These connections, they can lead to, incredible insights, mentorship, even job leads. You never know.
Truth. Okay, any other nuggets of wisdom from RoleCatcher before we wrap up?
They actually give some great interview tips, like be ready to answer questions like, how would you handle a difficult tenant?
Hmm.
Or how would you manage a budget for, say, a huge property? Have those answers ready, well thought out, shows you're prepared, that you've really thought about the challenges and you're not afraid to tackle them head on.
Preparation is key. It shows you're serious. But even beyond the practical tips, I feel like RoleCatcher really emphasized one thing above all else: passion. You gotta love this stuff.
100%. The best housing managers, the ones who really thrive, they genuinely care about creating those positive living environments for people. They're problem solvers at heart. They love the variety, the challenge,
Yeah.
and knowing they're making a difference, a real difference in people's lives. That's what makes it all worthwhile.
And that is a fantastic note to end on. So if you're out there listening to this and you're someone who you like a good challenge, you thrive in a dynamic environment, and you find it rewarding to help others, housing management might be the perfect fit.
It's demanding, no doubt, but so rewarding. And who knows, you might be the one shaping the future of this whole industry, blending technology with that human touch.
Well said. Big thank you to RoleCatcher for such amazing insights. And to you, our listeners, thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the world of housing management. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and we'll catch you on our next deep dive.